Not all readers are leaders, but all leaders I know are readers.
I don't let myself start a book that I'm not going to finish. You know, when you're reading, you have to be careful that you really are concentrating, particularly if it's a non-fiction book. Are you taking the new knowledge and sort of attaching it to the knowledge you have? And for me, taking notes helps make sure that I'm really thinking hard about what's in there. If I disagree with the book, sometimes it takes a long time to read the book because I'm writing so much in the margin. It's actually kind of frustrating. Oh, please say something I agree with so I can get through to the end of this book.
The first book I tell anybody to read is The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. That's the beginning. You've got to fix this. The difference between successful people and non-successful people is this. The second book is The Magic of Thinking Big. So The Magic of Thinking Big taught me right away, man, Steve, you gotta elevate your thought process. Don't aim low, aim high. Aim for the moon in case you miss, you still be amongst the stars.
How do you keep up with all the media and information that goes on in our crazy world and in your world of Berkshire Hathaway? What's your media routine?
I just read and read and read. I probably read 5 to 6 hours a day. I don't read as fast now as when I was younger, but I read 5 daily newspapers. I read a fair number of magazines. I read 10Ks. I read annual reports, and I read a lot of other things too. So I've always enjoyed reading. I love reading biographies, for example.
You process information very quickly.
Well, I have some filters in my mind. So if somebody calls me about an investment in a business or an investment in securities, I usually know in 2 or 3 minutes.
Can you share 5 books that have shaped you?
Yes. As a young student, To Kill a Mockingbird, Shoe Dog,
Oh, yeah.
which was Phil Knight's book. And it's kind of meant to be a business book, but it's a book on life.
I really like that book.
It's really great.
Yeah.
When Breath Becomes Air was phenomenal. Malala's book, I Am Malala. And then I love reading biographies of Martin Luther King and Bobby Kennedy and some of the great people that were pushing forward on civil rights.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I like biographies in general. Biographies, I think, are really always, really interesting read.
What do you learn from them?
Well, I think you learn a lot, depending upon whose life you're reading about. There are lots of lessons in there. I read Isaacson's biography of Jobs, which I thought was quite interesting. And I actually really liked his biography of Benjamin Franklin, who I would say is certainly one of my heroes. He seemed like a really great guy.
The oldest form of transferring knowledge. Read. Read. Somebody said this to me, and I can't remember who it was. Malcolm Gladwell. I had the privilege of sharing a stage with him. And so we're kind of at the back of this venue, and when speakers, they put them in the green room where you got to wait, and I'm like, this is Malcolm Gladwell. And then, so there's like 2 reactions. The Vusi goes, this is Malcolm Gladwell, and Vusi Temugwa goes, yeah, he's just a guy. So I got to, like, Malcolm, I've read all his books. I'm a huge fan of your work. I'm what they call a Gladwellian, literally. And, by the way, anyway, but the point is, he said something interesting. His latest book, which is Talking to Strangers, I think took him 5 or 7 years to write. So when you pick up that kind of book, you're taking a piece of literature that was composed over 5 to 7 years, and you can consume it, if you're good, in 2 weeks. And this is the point about reading. So I think this is the point that people miss about reading, is what you're doing when you're reading is you're taking knowledge and information gathered over a really long period of time, and you're condensing your absorption of that knowledge.
What I like about reading, though, is that it increases your verbal intelligence. That means you can be able to express any point at any given time. And the opposite is the same. Check this out.
There is a saying that the measure of a man is not how he did, that is not how he did, how he died. How he did, it is not how did he die.
People, as the adage says, you give a poor man a fish and you feed him for a day. You teach him to fish, you give him no.
Honorable Cardo, I would caution against problematizing
in terms of our constitution, who decides when to appoint or disappoint ministers in your cabinet? Those who are seized by delusions of grandeur, fashion themselves as commanders-in-chief and instruct the head of state.
Point of order.
Honorable member, what's your point of order?
It's not disappoint, it's unappoint. Disappoint means something different.
That's not
it's
the
this
point
thing of reading true love as opposed to political literature.
Please sit down, Josie.
Not disappoint, that means different.
Honorable Josie.
I like John Adams when he said, "How can any man judge unless his mind has been opened and enlarged by reading?" Let me hear your comment below.